Morning, everyone. Good morning. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone from the community that's out here joining us. We put this together, and there are a lot of other folks that wanted to be with us today, but because of social distancing and the limits on gatherings, we wanted to keep it as low as possible. But the showing of the support really comes through with all the folks that we have here today, and so I want to thank the community more than anything else because if we're going to put a stop to this, and when we're going to put a stop to this, it's going to require everyone, but most importantly, the community to be behind it. So we truly appreciate it. A couple of folks that I want to recognize that are here with us. I want to thank State Senator Harold Metz for being here with us. Thank you so much, State Senator. We have Councilman Pedro Espinal. Really appreciate you, Councilman. We have the President of the NAACP of Rhode Island, Jim Vincent. Thank you for always leading the way and for being on the right side of the issues all of the time. And a number of community leaders and others that you're going to hear from as well. So all through this past week, I've been hearing from folks in the community expressing their concern about the recent spate of violence, the shootings in our community. Typically, we've always taken the position that one shooting, one death, one incident is far too many. And I think that we'd be doing a disservice to our entire community if we didn't show the outrage over it, if we allowed these things to be normalized, if we didn't speak up and speak out. And so that's what brings us here together. What we've seen these last 2 weeks, it's not normal, it's not us, and we're not going to allow it to continue. Now, I want to reiterate my point that for this to end, it's going to require the participation of every single person in our community. I want to give a shout out to the Chief of Police, Colonel Hugh Clements. You'll be hearing from him in just a second. The police have an integral role to play in all of this, and for years they have served our city with distinction, and we appreciate that. We have leaders such as Diana Garlington from Moms Demand Action. We have Cedric Huntley, the interim director of the Nonviolence Institute. We have Alicia Deli from the African American Ambassador Group, and she's here with the Corporate Prayer Group of New England as well. So we're all here because we want to do what we can, and we want to lend our voice to this cause and let folks know out there in our community that this is not a moment to lose hope. You are not alone. I know that these last few months have been really difficult on all of us. Now, the support systems that we've relied on over the years, they haven't been as present, they haven't been as there, or they've been interrupted because of COVID. I also know that many of the youth programs, the sports, the other outlets that our young people have throughout the city, we haven't been able to offer them in the way that we have in the past because of COVID as well. Those daily interactions reminding young kids in our community that they matter, that they're important, that we care about them, and that we love them. Perhaps those human interactions haven't happened as much over the past few months. We also know that being cooped up because of the virus seems as though pressure has built up over time, and there's just that built up pressure that needs to be released. Whatever the cause, whatever the reasons, we're here to say that this violence, this is not us, and we can't stand it to continue in our community any longer. Working with our police department, we track every single one of these incidents, and with our detectives and with our partners out in the community, try to collect as much intelligence as we can. Each of the incidents that we've seen in the past two weeks, to the best of our knowledge, up to this point, there is no connection between them. But the fact that there is no connection between them up until this point doesn't lessen our concern that there might be retaliation or further acts of violence because of the acts of violence that have already occurred. And so we're here as a community to ask the rest of the community that if you see something, please say something. We're asking everybody out there in the community that if you have any intelligence, or you have any intel, or if you have any sense that someone you know, someone you may know, might be planning some kind of retaliation, don't let them ruin someone else's life and ruin their life in the process. Please let us know. We have resources that can intervene, because the solution to violence is not more violence. Violence never breeds anything but more violence, and we have to put a stop to it at some point. So everyone out there who's listening, if you have any information that can help us interrupt this violence and put resources out to where they're needed, most strategically and effectively, let us know, and we will respond in the best way that we can. We're also here as a community to send a message to the rest of the community, in particular to all legal gun owners. Please do everything that you can to safeguard your weapons so that they're not stolen, they're not misused, and they don't end up on our streets leading to crimes, as we've seen over the past couple of weeks. As I mentioned at the beginning, every one of us has a role to play in this. We know that gun violence has been a scourge in our community and in communities throughout the country for far too long. Throughout the United States, we're seeing a spike and we're seeing a rise in violence. We know that there's something underneath, something lying deep in the roots, and I do believe that COVID has exposed many of those fundamental injustices that are really rising to the fore today. And they're manifested in many different ways. Perhaps folks feeling as though there's less hope and less optimism for their and for their community's future. Perhaps the strains, be they economic, emotional, spiritual, in our households are spilling out into the streets, and people are coping with it through violence. Whatever that reason may be, we want folks to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. You have an entire community that cares, that's here to support you, that's here to be with you and get you through this so that violence doesn't seem as the only option. Here in the city of Providence, we address it in a multi-pronged effort. We wanted to be here today because we know that everyone shares in the responsibility and everyone is part of the solution. We're here because this area of the upper end of Broad Street has been particularly disinvested for a number of years. Just over this way, we have 27 abandoned properties that have been abandoned for years upon years. When you walk through these streets, it doesn't really inspire much hope. It doesn't inspire much pride. While working with the community and with Rhode Island Housing, we recently announced that each of these 27 properties are going to be rehabbed. And working with our partners on the City Council, we announced a $10 million investment of public infrastructure right on this stretch. So that goes to underscore the point that we all have a role to play, that we all have to be part of the solution, and by each of us chipping in every way that we can, that's how we're going to bring this violence to an end. But most importantly, to everyone out there who might have been directly affected by this and who might be considering resorting to violence, we want you to know that you have an entire community that's here to support you if you want to do the right thing. You're not alone through this. We care, and we're here for you. With that, I'll pass it over to our next speaker. I'm going to ask Colonel Hugh Clemens, Chief of Police, to come and share a few words.
Mayor, what I see here is like a PR stunt of some sort. Yeah. I see like a reinforcement of trying to give the officers who are clearly your own whites a reinforcement to fit their police agenda for the community. Like, don't pretend like it's violence never been a problem in Providence. Like, that's what I'm clearly seeing here. Like, and many administrations and cities and counties and states around the country are doing the same thing by reinforcing the same white supremacy inflicted on black and brown communities. Yes. I mean, this is what I'm clearly seeing. Like, I don't know about any of y'all, but I clearly see that this is a reinforcement to give the initiative to these officers who are white. Not a good look here, as we can see here. But it's like, come on, like we're not stupid. This is clearly a PR stunt.
But and thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Thank you for your words. The fact of the matter remains, in the last 2 weeks,
paying people $1,000 for their guns to remove them off the streets. We have plenty of money. We just got how many
kids in the streets.
Talk
If
about,
you're 18 or under, you get $1,000.
You want to address? You want me to?
The money that goes to the police department, $80 million goes to the police department. How much goes to education? How much goes to culture? How much goes to...
Sir, we appreciate you. If you give us a moment to get through this, we'll address all of those, and I'll even have a conversation with you directly if you wish. Just please give us a moment to go through the program. Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, there's been 8 disturbing incidents in the city of Providence, 5 leading to death, homicide related. It's disturbing, it's disappointing to know from where we've been. We've had great success in this community, working with our community leaders, state representatives, city council folks, and our community partners, including the Nonviolence Institute and many, many others. The public safety is our concern. It's a shared responsibility. It's a shared concern in this community. These 8 disturbing incidents should cause outrage, and they are. They should cause huge concern for members in this community. We know through our experience over the years, we've had good success in the last couple of years. We're in the midst of this disturbing uptick in gun violence. And people need to know that they should be outraged, they should stand up, they should speak up. I know, we know there are young men in this community getting their hands on firearms. We know it through social media, we know it through contacts in the community, and many in the community know this as well. So here's an opportunity when you see a young man who has access to a firearm, who's not responsible enough to be a legitimate owner of a firearm, ready to carry out an act of violence, that you stand up and refer him to a coach, a mentor, a teacher, a community leader like Cedric Huntley and countless others who can assist in diverting that young man from causing an incident, a one-off incident that will entirely ruin the rest of his life and alter the life of a mom, a family in this community. We've seen it over and over again. We've seen it too many times. And there is a way for legitimate homeowners to protect their weapons. There's technology out there now. There's all sorts of biometric equipment to protect your weapons. So we stand with our partners in the community as we combat gun violence. The police department are doing our part, our share, to direct our resources to those we know who are active and prone to pick up a firearm and use it in an act of violence. All 8 of these incidents at this moment are separate and apart. We're certainly concerned and will continue to be concerned with acts of retaliation, especially on a couple of them. And we'll stand for questions right after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to ask, I believe, Diana, you're next? I'm going to ask Diana Garlington from Moms Demand Action to share a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I first would like to send my condolences to all the families who have lost a loved one. I'm going to come at this a little different. I don't believe that this is a recent uptick of violence. It was hot in July, and it's hot now. I do want to say that I know for a fact that 52 guns released on the street is a problem for all of us. It's a problem for our youth who are getting these guns in their hands, and they're out here shooting people like it's a target practice. We need proper storage of these guns that was released. We need people like Moms Demand Action who can get out here and train these people who are in possession of these weapons. Like I said, this is not something that I'm gonna stand out and say that our community is not also responsible. We hold a responsibility also. As the mayor said, and as the chief said, we have to stand up ourselves. It's not just I. It has to be we. It has to be us. It can't be just Black Lives Matter. It can't just be Diana Garlington. It has to be our community to come out and stand up with us. This pandemic has spiked a large number of weapons being purchased in these past couple of months. We don't need these type of weapons on the streets where our innocent children are being slaughtered and murdered. Jamie, he was Hispanic, but he bled red just like all of us. Delron Fields was black. He bled red just like all of us. This is not the time for us to stand and be separated. We must unite. We have to come together in order to curb this violence. It's enough that our community is already suffering a pandemic. So what are we gonna do to stand up and stop all of the rest of this senseless killings that's going on in our city right now? So as I said, I am not here to sit here and sugarcoat and say that, you know, it's not all of us who should come together in order to make things better. We have to hold our responsibility. We have to be the ones to stand up and say that enough of this. We can't continue taking our kids being slaughtered in the street. Yes, we have no programs. Yes, we're in a pandemic. But as I said, we have to stand up. Our community is not sleeping, so our General Assembly should not be sleeping either. There is no I in love, and there is no I in peace. So it's our job to come together and get this on the wraps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. I'm going to ask Cedric Huntley, the Interim Director of the Institute for the Study in Non-Practice, to please share a few words.
Good afternoon. You know, as I watch everything unfold, I don't want us to be confused about I don't want us to be confused about why we're here. I know that there are organizations out there that have issues with law enforcement. I know that. But this is not the forum for that. There are families out there that are hurting. As the Nonviolence Institute responds to the hospital, we see the pain and suffering of those families. They're gone, and they can't even have a moment with them. That's what it's about. Nobody has enlisted to be a part of this group of victims, families suffering. Nobody signed up for it. And I just ask you to pay attention to and be aware. The theme is it's a community, and we all are responsible, all of us. So whatever your issue is, you have to get involved. And as the mayor said, as the chief said, and Diana has said, this is about humanity. This is about caring for your community. This is about taking responsibility to do your part. And whatever else you're concerned about, if you have a problem with law enforcement, hey, you have every right to express that. But this is not law enforcement killing our children. It's not them. It's us. It's us. Excuse me. It's us. It's us doing that, right? So I'm not defending anybody, but what I am doing is defending the community. It's our black and brown children killing each other, and that's wrong. That wherever you go, it could be all that, but all I know All I know is that I go to the hospital and I see pain and suffering. That's what I see. And my heart is broken as a result of that. So let's not confuse the issue. We're here to address a very serious issue. And violence really is a public health issue. I don't know if you really think about it as that, but it is. And we all have to do our part. Just keep the families in your prayers, please, because they're hurting. And that pain will never, ever go away. Ever. Everything has been said, but it's up to us to make sure that we do our part in this city. And we could go across the nation, but Providence is not a Minneapolis. Providence is not other states. And the partnerships that we have developed over the years has made a difference. It has. And if you don't think that, then we could go back 20, 25 years. If you want to be there 25 years ago or 30 years ago, it's made a difference. So I applaud those who are fighting their own fights, but the fight of nonviolence is all our problem. That's all I have to say.